in 5, 4, 3.
What's up, friends? Welcome to Chaos Live. What's happening to all you awesome people, part of the awesome notification platoon? Join the live chat right away for the live stream. We got Thomas, we got Johnny Bravo, we got Hernandez, SCP, we got John, we got Lovable Xena, we got Corey, Peter Griffin, CIA2, Zeb, Anakin Skywalker, Mosin21, we got Connor, we got Cody, we got Doug, Ethan, Bit Expert, and Joe and Corey. So those are the first ones I was able to quickly ramble off for all you awesome people. So thanks for coming to hang out. If you are not familiar with Chaos Live, you've never been to one or whatever, this is my fun little live stream. I like to do on the weekends occasionally, or pretty much every weekend anyways, and hang out with all you awesome people, answering questions the best that I can. Sometimes the chat gets pretty crazy and I can't keep up with all of it. Otherwise, if I go question by question by question, I end up pretty far behind, so don't be offended if I end up missing your question. Ask it again later, or come back to the video later when it's been published and ask it down in the comments section. Pretty good at usually getting to that there. Or you can follow me on Instagram. If you find my Instagram, you just search for Christopher Chaos or that Chris Chaos. You'll find me very easily, and you can follow me on Instagram and shoot me a message on there. I'm pretty good at responding to everybody on there thus far. So with that being said, let's dive into it. What do you guys want to know about the Army, about whatever, life in general? That's cool too. Not politics, because I hate politics. So what's happening? We got Peter Griffin saying what's happening. Did I see the Pacquiao fight? No, I'm not really a big boxing fan. I like MMA. Boxing's okay and everything, but I like the more well-rounded kind of fighting style of MMA. So I'm more of an MMA guy, but I don't hate boxing or anything either. So let's get him some likes. I agree. Thomas, we'll see if we can't get to maybe 50 likes. I don't know, 50 likes is a good goal to shoot for. Nothing special happens if we get that far, but it's a nice goal to shoot for. Well, what's happening to SCP? Did I watch the fight yet? I didn't watch the Pacquiao fight. Leaving for basic, Fort Sill, August 19th. Well, good luck to you, Connor. Hopefully all goes well. Just expect it to suck, but push through it. Don't give up. And know that it does get better once you get out of a training environment. It's going to suck during a training environment, but it's supposed to. It's supposed to test your skills and test your, ability to get through the suck, and then you'll get to a much better lifestyle once you get out of that. What's happening, Doug? We got a super chat already? Got the lights blinking in here. That we're having some power surge. There we go. Rodrigo with a super chat. What's happening? Thank you for the donation. As a cook, while I see combat, what's likelihood? Very slim. You're gonna be mostly, even on a combat deployment, because everybody deploys if your unit is going to deploy, right? So if you're a cook, you're gonna deploy with that unit too, because someone's gotta make the food. You're usually working with civilians in the chow halls. A lot of times they have other individuals working on a chow hall with the U.S. Army or other military branches that are there. But seeing combat would be very rare. There are some situations where you could, especially like if you're just going on, maybe moving from one installation or one camp, one fob to another fob to maybe go cook chow or deliver chow or whatever you're maybe possibly doing, and an ambush happens. That could still happen. If the fob gets mortared, you're on the base and mortar rounds come down, then that could happen. But directly you're not gonna be assaulting buildings and kicking in doors or anything like that. But some unrelated combat you could possibly run into with certain situations. Thanks for the donation though. It's been a long time since I've seen Chris live stream. How you been, bud? Ethan, what's happening, man? Thanks for stopping in. Am I the only moderator? Bit expert, probably in here right now thus far. Awesome part of the notification platoon and all that kind of stuff. We got Hawkeye Johnson becoming an awesome member. Thank you, Hawkeye Johnson, for joining the team and being a part of the awesome, it's not really the Chaos Army, because I guess technically just being a subscriber is the Chaos Army. Maybe part of the Chaos Special Forces? I don't know. I don't know really a special thing. But thanks for joining the channel. If any of you are interested in joining the channel, maybe hit it up later. Check out the join button down below, or even a link down in the description. You can get an awesome little icon next to your name, and the longer you're a member, the higher up in rank you move. And you also get a bunch of other perks like early access to videos and all sorts of other stuff, and intel and all sorts of things. So thanks, Hawkeye Johnson, for joining. Man, we're just blowing up today. What we got here? We got Jordan with a super chat. If you could go back in time, would you do ROTC? No, I don't think so. Especially like if we were going back in time to like when I would have been eligible for ROTC. I didn't really get good grades. there's like, I wouldn't say I'm smart, but I wouldn't say I'm dumb either. There's areas I feel like I'm smart in, but there's also areas I feel dumb in as well. So I don't think I'm definitely not gonna call myself no genius or nothing like that. But general education stuff, I'm mediocre at, especially like around that time to go to college. I would have been horrible in English. I'm horrible at spelling. I'm sure many of you have seen times before in videos or descriptions of videos where I made spelling errors because I'm horrible at that. I'm decent at math, and I got better at math later on, but I think I would have been bad at ROTC, so I probably would not have done ROTC, I think. So thanks, Jordan, though, for the donation, and thanks for your question. I'll go backwards a little bit because you guys are blowing it up down there, so I'll come backwards a little while. What's happening, Joe E? Let's see, we got Corey. Hey, my recruiter finally updated me MEPS on the 30th. Well, that's awesome. Good luck to you. Hopefully all goes well and you get a great MOS. Christopher Chaos is our battalion commander, or is our battalion commander who should be the XO. I call XO. I don't know who you'd have. It'd probably, like, I'm not going to play favoritisms or anything like that, but probably one of the first moderators that I added, either Jay the Vorn, which is not in here in the chat right now, or Richard Hansen or something like that. Some of the early moderators that I had on the channel. I don't know though. What's happening, Corey? Let's see. Shipped to basic August 13th. Getting a little nervous, but also excited. Well, good luck to you. It's normal to be nervous. So just like I said, I always tell everybody this: go into it expecting it to suck. If you happen to come out of it liking it and saying it was a fun experience, then awesome. But at a minimum, go into it knowing it's going to suck, because that's the whole purpose of basic training, is to test yourself and make sure you can handle the pressure. But it does get much better once you get out of the training environment. Jordan saying, you're one of my favorite YouTubers. Well, awesome, Jordan. Thank you. Appreciate that. What's happening? Was it Lady Jacket? I don't know. It's a mash of the whole long name. Kristen? Right? All right. What's happening? Perfect timing tonight, Chris. Just watched City on a Hill. Great show. Don't think I've heard of that one there, Doug. Not familiar with it. My wife and I will be at AIT in Fort Sam, Houston for almost a year. 68 Alpha. Well, good luck to you, Connor. That's awesome. We're going to skip around just a little bit. What is the policy with guns on base? Concealed carry holders, you cannot, they don't allow concealed carry even if it's legally on base. Because it's a military installation, any military installation really. I have a video on that. I don't remember what it's titled, but essentially, if you live in the barracks, you can't have guns because barracks restrict guns in the barracks. If you live in on-post housing, you can, but they have to be registered through the Provost Marshal, which is kind of like the police station on base. So you have to register your weapons through the Provost Marshal, and then you're allowed to keep them inside your housing area and stuff there. But if you live in the barracks, then you have to keep that stuff off post or make some other arrangements, but you can't keep them in the barracks. Do you get a bonus in the Army combat? Not for going to combat. If you happen to re-enlist while you're in a combat zone, that re-enlistment bonus is tax-free, so that's good. I mean, you get combat pay, but not like a bonus or anything. What do combat engineers usually do? Check out my Combat Engineer MOS Monday. I give a little bit of a tip on it. Any tips for SFAS? I've never been through it, but I have a close friend who has, and it sounds really, really rigorous to where you gotta be in great shape, both mentally as well. There's times where you're probably gonna want to quit from the way it sounds like, based on the craziness they'll put you through with very little sleep and all that stuff. But just be in great shape and all that kind of stuff. He told me that he wishes he would have just picked a good MOS that he would have liked, and then later gone for Special Forces, because otherwise if you go like 18 X-ray and go straight to SFAS, then if you fail, which is a high failure rate because it's very difficult to do, then you just become an 11 Bravo. And if you're not wanting to be an 11 Bravo, then that kind of sucks. But if you go and come into an MOS you want to do, and then you later go to SFAS and then fail, well, you just get to go back to that MOS you already picked earlier. So that's kind of a little bit of a plus in that manner. Skip around a little bit, not armor related, but are you planning on seeing Slipknot since they will turn in the US? I'd like to. I've seen Slipknot once. They were awesome. I saw them during when the Mayhem Festival was going on with Rockstar Energy Drink, when they used to do that, and they were pretty cool. But I don't know. I think they have a show coming up in Denver later in the summer or something like that, but I don't know. It'd be cool, but no real plans on it right now. Chris, along with re-enlisting, do they still have extending your current contract from 6 months to 1 year, or is it just re-enlistment, new contract? You can extend it I think for certain circumstances, they'll let you do an extension. Like if you need to extend it for, different situations. There's a few situations you could possibly do, but yeah, there is technically extensions you can do. They're usually short term like that, like 6 months or a couple of months. But otherwise, past that, they just make you re-enlist if you're gonna do something like that. Hey Chris, Chaos, or hey Chaos, can you please explain how to become an officer from being enlisted? At some point in time, I might do a green to gold video. It's basically you do the green to gold program, the quick down and dirty of that. If you apply for the green to gold program, they accept you to do so. They basically allow you to get out of the Army early to go to college on an Army scholarship, to go to 4 years of college, and then come back in the Army as an officer. So that's the quick down and dirty of it, but maybe at some point in time, I might do a better breakdown of the green to gold program at some point. Hey Chaos, this guy in your comments section of your last vid keeps talking negative about the Army. It happens. It happens more than you probably know. A lot of times, like, I'm not all about the censorship kind of thing, but at the same time, the whole point of this channel that I want to do is bring positivity for those who are interested in the Army. I'm not saying the Army is all positive, all rainbows and sunshines or anything like that, but I hate it when people are like just simply, bashing the Army because their experience was so horrible because maybe they were a dirtbag or they just got really unlucky and had a crappy unit. But it happens, But sometimes if people get really crazy with it, sometimes I ban them for that kind of crap. But if they're just being just the normal complaining stuff like that, whatever, kind of a thing. Bit expert with a donation. Can I be first sergeant then if Jay the Vorn is XO? Sure, why not? I don't actually have any kind of rank structure in here. Like those little ranks next to everybody's names, I can't actually set those. Those are just based on how long you stay a member for on the channel. But internally, I mean, yeah, you could probably be the first sergeant. That's a possibility. I don't know. What kind of gun do you get in combat? It depends. Most commonly, you'll get it'll be a rifle, so probably the M4. If you're really unlucky, an M16. Most of the M16 is being phased out. There might be a few units that might have that stuff, but M4 is the most common one. Tankers typically, and a few other people will carry 9mm, but even the 9mm are going to start phasing out pretty soon for a replacement handheld, or not handheld, but a handgun. So that'll kind of switch at some point in time. What's good, Chris? Waiting for my waiver to be approved so I can re-enlist. Well, good luck to you. Hopefully it goes well. Get something good. Or if you're re-enlisting, so you're already in the Army, and you want to re-enlist, well, try to get, at least choice of duty station. It's always a great thing. Is 19 kilo good MOS? I'm sure 19 kilos would think so. I have never been one, so I don't know. What is the most elite unit? Delta Force, I would imagine. Highest paying job in the Army, the job really doesn't matter, it'd be the rank. So the higher in rank you are, the higher it is. Because you can have jobs that, you're a doctor or a finance person. That doctor doesn't get paid more than finance person if they're the same rank. So that's the key thing. Chaos, check out P. Will's video he did today. It's hilarious. I haven't watched it yet. I saw it pop up in my timeline and everything like that. I haven't gotten around to watching it. Possibly next week. I don't know, it might be next week. There's a video with him and Ben Allen that'll probably be going live on my channel, I think. It might be next week or this coming Friday or whatever. It might be coming up. What is SFAS? It is the Special Forces Assessment and Selection. So that is basically the school that individuals have to go through to try out for the Special Forces. So they have to try out for that. They can even go through the whole entire course and pass it, but if they don't get selected because they didn't perform exceptionally, then they don't get picked. Heard with the Green Beret training, if you throw up, they make you put it in your pockets. I have no idea. I wouldn't doubt it though. Do you know any prior service and how long it took them to get back in? The recruiters really seem to be taking their time. With my son, he had to switch recruiting offices once already. It really depends. Sometimes if there's, like if the individual got out honorably, then it shouldn't be too bad of a process, but it can still vary based on the MOS they're trying to come in. If the MOS, say, obviously, let's say if they want to go back in the same MOS, the same job that they did when they're in the Army, but that job is now over strength or really high on individuals, then it might be a little difficult to get back in. There's a lot of things that can really play into it, but it just really depends. There's never any smooth transition. And then especially if there was some kind of negative thing why they got out of the Army, then it can be really difficult to get in. But assuming that, you know, he just got out because he was tired of being in the Army and got out honorably, then there's still a number of factors that can still delay someone from being able to come back in. Going to try to beat 11 Bravo. Also, I may get a Hummer H1. Should I get it? Already have a truck. From what I understand, the H, especially H1 is horrible. That's the very first one. That one gets horrible gas mileage. You go to H2 or H3 is a little bit better, but a lot of people that I've known that have even had the H2 or H3 Hummer said that it wasn't really that great. I mean, they said it was basically a Chevy Colorado with a Hummer body on it. So, you know, it's personal opinion if you just like the way it looks, but you're not really looking for that much power. I mean, it's still great power, I guess, but not as much as maybe you'd expect, I guess. I don't know from what I hear. So just, you know, if it's something you really want, it's probably a little expensive, but whatever. What's up, Chris Chaos? I'm about to enlist as Lem Bravo soon. Well, good luck to you, Elite Gaming. Hopefully that all goes well. Evie, what's happening? Can't stay long, working tomorrow, but wanted to say hi. Hi. How's it going? I'm going to let you all know a secret. If you all call someone name or was it defram someone, you will meet my wrath. Well, I agree. You know, you don't want to, if you come in here just looking to troll people or call people names, that's not what this is about. This is the fun live stream of hanging out, and you guys got cool questions or whatever. I do my best to try to answer them as best that I can. But if you're here to try to get reactions out of people, it's not going to work out well for you. Let's see, what else do we got? Always as a 68 Whiskey Doctor, do you get paid more than other officers? They get special annual bonuses amounting to what they doing residency in. I don't know about that. I don't think I've ever heard of anything where 68 Whiskey's getting any kind of special bonuses just for being a 68 Whiskey. You get the normal ones, you know, if you re-enlist or you're in a combat zone or certain other situations, but simply being a 68 Whiskey doesn't usually get you any kind of special bonuses or anything. Were you ever at Warrior Base in Korea? Possibly. I don't remember where Warrior Base is located at, but it's possible that I was maybe at there one time or another. Got a flash flood warning going on here? So my phone was like buzzing like crazy. It was like I thought someone was trying to call me or something like that. It says this area from till 11:15, avoid flooded areas. Well, luckily my house is not in a flooded area, so I should be okay. If you start seeing water pouring in behind me, make sure somebody let me know if I don't notice. So, yeah, but Warrior Base, I'm not really sure if I was there or not. Chris, why has there not been any combat promotions from enlisted to an officer, even though we've had 2 wars recently? Because people are getting, you know, going through the ranks, you know, pretty well on the normal standards. Normally they would only do combat promotions like back in the day, like with World War I, World War II, because you had situations where the combat was so heavy. You know, you're on the front lines with that trench warfare and everything, and you have officers and enlisted people getting killed left and right and everything, and then your first sergeant's dead, your commander's dead or whatever because of, you know, crap that happened, and now we need a new commander. So someone's high speed enough, they're getting battlefield promoted to that next higher rank. We don't have that big of a problem like that anymore in today's nowadays thing. So there's no real need to have to hurry up and rush someone into a promotion when we don't need it. So that's kind of the main reason why, I would think. Have you considered going into the reserves or guard? I did after a 10-year break in service. No, I enjoy my civilian job that I do right now as an instructor for the Army. Not really for the Army, but kind of contracted down through the channels of the Army. But anyways, being an instructor to soldiers, I enjoy doing that. It pays really well compared to what I would be making in the Army. So I enjoy it. I'm good with where I'm at currently. Are you able to change your job during boot camp? No. Once you sign the dotted line and you chose an MOS, you're stuck with that MOS. So you better make sure that's the MOS you want. The only way you can change MOSs is if that one is either overstrength and they're trying to kick people out of MOS to go somewhere else, or it is time for you to re-enlist and you can possibly re-enlist to reclass to another MOS. But otherwise, you're stuck. Chris, I've watched a few JT Suits live streams. He is all over the place, never sticks to a topic. Nice guy, but crappy content? Oh man, it's kind of rough to JT, but all right, Doug. Myth or fact, can flat-footed people join the service, they can. I have a good friend who is he had flat feet, and he still was able to get in. So he just kind of had a little bit of hard time doing road marches and needed some really good insoles for like his boots and everything like that. But he said he was still allowed to come in. Hey Chris, ammo supply is the best MOS? Sure. I did it as an 80 mic pretty much as a truck driver, but it was okay. A lot of math and a lot of inventories. Are there any MOSs where you don't have to speak to anyone or socialize with people? Most likely not, because you're going to have some kind of leadership at somewhere. I mean, even at the minimum, of not having to work with a lot of people if you're working inside of an office, but it's like something like you don't interact with other soldiers that have to come to you. You still have leadership, and you're still going to have other people probably working with you. So there's still going to be some amount of people you have to work with at a point. How long do you get to get ready in the morning at basic training? Yeah, not a lot of time. They flip on the lights, and you probably have enough time to just quickly get dressed if you're not already dressed, because a lot of times you sleep in your PTs anyways. And basic, go brush your teeth, shave real quick, and then get downstairs. There's not a whole lot of time. I want to say maybe it was like 30 minutes, maybe less than that. It didn't seem like very long, and it was really rushed. Chris, what is your definition of a veteran? Someone who's honorably served, I think. Anybody really who's honorably served is a veteran, technically. Notification platoon checking in. Well, thanks, Chris. Enlisted as E4, do you know how long it takes to get promoted to E5? You still have to do the basics. So coming in as a higher rank still allows you to get to that rank faster and start off making the higher money, but you still have those two criteria to make. You still have to make one of those criteria, either time and grade or time and service. You can get a waiver for one of them, but you can't get a waiver for both of them. So even though you come in as an E4, you still are gonna have to meet whatever the time and service is. I don't know what it is off the top of my head for being recommended to go to the promotion board for E5, or the time and grade. So time and service, time and grade to be able to be recommended to go to the board, and then you still have to go to the promotion board. So you just look up what whatever it is, the time and grade, time and service, to be eligible for the promotion board for E4, and you have to meet at least one of those, and then try to get a waiver for the other one if you want to go quicker. Is it fun arriving at basic training? No, not really. Some people might say sure, but it just depends. I meant, is it fun arriving? Yeah. Is it fun arriving? Yeah. No, it sucks. For me, I thought it sucks. Can you rank up in boot camp or in basic training, essentially? There are some instances where you can. Sometimes the leadership will have, we'll put in extra effort to put in for a waiver for someone to get promoted to like E2, let's say, because maybe you did really well on your PT test or scored expert on qualification or whatever. But that will really just depend on the leadership. If the leadership doesn't feel like doing any extra effort to try to reward people for doing that, then they don't have to, right? So it's really just on them if they want to. So there's chances where you, in certain situations where you could, but not a guarantee thing, really. Let's skip around a little bit. What are the sideline duties of an 88 mic? I don't know what you mean by sideline duties. Because everybody always has like the normal crummy duties of picking up trash, doing other details, helping out with other things. But I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean by sideline duties. When you talk to the recruiter, can you get a contract to be in airborne? Yeah. What is option? What is it? Option 20? I forget what it is. But there's a specific option where you can try to tell them that, hey, I want it in my contract to where after I graduate from basic training and AIT that I go to airborne school, or if you're doing infantry MOS, then after OSIT that I go to airborne school. So there is a specific option that you can try to get to where it's in your contract to where you are going to immediately be going to airborne school after you graduate from your initial training before you go to your first unit. You just have to make sure to tell your recruiter that that's something you want to do if that's what you're after. How do you protect your feet when you go on road marches on a road? Yeah, on a road march. There's different things. When I did the baton back in March, the 26 miles, a really great thing. There was like one of the sponsors of that road march was called combat tape, and it was basically like this. It's kind of like moleskin in a way, but a little bit tougher. But it was like this tape that you put over, the arches of your feet, and it worked excellent. It was amazing. The next time I probably do the baton next year or any other road marches for training or whatever, I will probably get some of that stuff again because it worked awesome. So that is one good way. A lot of people also recommend using your dress socks underneath your regular socks. That helps a little bit. Some people even say like pantyhose, wearing pantyhose, and then put your regular socks over those. Sometimes that helps against blisters. Just be an awkward situation if you are caught wearing, the pantyhose underneath all the clothes. But, there's some different options, different tricks that people like to use for preventing against blisters. How do you use the emojis? I see you already found it though. So that's how you use the emojis. Rank should be earned, not given out for being popular. It's not really a popular thing that you get. If you did really well and like in basic training, if that's what you're talking about, in the example that I gave for basic training of people getting promoted early, the max, they scored the highest on the PT test than everybody else, so you excelled above everybody else. You scored expert on weapons qualification. But if you were just a nice guy, they're not going to put in for a promotion because you're a nice guy. But if you did something exceptionally well, then there's possibly a good chance. Sounds like it's raining pretty good outside. I can hear the rain like hitting the windows behind like the banners and stuff like that. Behind the flag and the banner back there is actually a window. I can hear the rain hitting up against it. Hey Chris, my recruiter is giving me a hard time getting airborne and air assault in my contract. Option 4 for airborne. Would you happen to know why? Maybe slots are really full. I mean, that can always be a case. It's not like a easy thing to sometimes just throw somebody into that. If there's the time frame of when you're going to basic training and everything and going to be graduating, that specific class is already pretty full, then it can make it difficult. Air assault is not usually something you get in your contract though. Air assault is usually something you have to request through your unit. Once you get to your first unit, that is not something you can do usually when you come straight out of it. Airborne school is a little bit different. There's only one location for airborne school at Fort Benning, but air assault, there's multiple locations, and that's usually something you have to do once you're done with training. You request that through your unit. That's not usually something you can get into your contract first coming into the Army. So I wouldn't expect that one too much, but even if you can't get airborne into your contract, there's always the chance that sometimes you can ask the drill sergeants to send you after you completed training. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. And then if that still doesn't work out, then when you get to your first unit, you tell them, hey, I'm interested in going to airborne school. And usually units have so many slots that they're allowed to send people to airborne school. Sometimes they'll make you compete for it a little bit, maybe by doing road marches or a PT test or whatever. And then hopefully you can get one of those slots and go. So that just really varies. I know that you were an 88 Mike, but do you know how someone would get a higher chance of getting 11 Bravo or over 11 Charlie? No, not really. I mean, it's kind of just a thing when you go to OSIT, you go in as an 11 X-ray, and I don't know what their selection process is of deciding who's going to be 11 Bravo, who's going to be 11 Charlie, but the majority of people go 11 Bravo, and then a certain other percentage goes 11 Charlie, so there's no guarantee you're going to get that 11 Bravo, but most of the people end up going 11 Bravo, but I don't know what they are looking at to decide who they're going to send 11 Bravo and who they're going to send 11 Charlie. Why, when the airborne deploys, they don't actually jump out of airplanes? It's not really a thing like right now that they really do too much. This is mainly being trained to be able to do so. But like the recent combat type of things we've had, which is Iraq and Afghanistan, there wasn't really any need to jump into the combat zone. Because especially with it being so deserty and everything like that, you're going to be really exposed up there in the air, and then you're going to land in some desert, and then you're not going to have like much concealment. I don't know. There's probably some big reasons for it, but there just hasn't been a real need for it with Iraq and Afghanistan. There has been people that have done it I think it was really just to get the combat wings, because you get a special identifier if you jumped into a combat zone. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what the situation is of when they decide to jump in or don't. Have you been deployed to Kuwait? If so, how is it? More specifically, Camp Buring. I wouldn't say I was technically deployed to Kuwait. We have to go through Kuwait to get to Iraq. I was deployed to Iraq, but we all started off in Kuwait before moving into Iraq. So I spent actually a month, both of my 2 deployments in Camp Buring. It's been a long time since I've been to Buring. The last time I was in Buring was in 2007. So it's been a long time since I was at Camp Buring. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It's hot, but that's obvious for that kind of environment. At the time I was there, the chow hall was okay. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't super great. I think they had a small trailer PX. They might have upgraded that since then, or it was a small little building. It wasn't very big. It was about the size of like your typical like 7-Eleven. It might have upgraded since then though. I think they did have a small little Burger King there, but I don't think they had anything else at that time. But it's okay. At that time we were living in like these big tents on a concrete pad. So they had like these permanent tents that they sprayed with like foam, and then you had a concrete pad and you're setting up a cot and living on that. I don't know if the conditions have improved since then. If you're probably maybe deployed there and you're permanently there, you might get a little bit better situation, but I don't know. But it's been a long time since I've been to Beering. Skipping around just a little bit. Chris, how fast can you change your MOS? Probably, it depends on your contract. If you do a 4-year contract, after about 3-ish years, you probably can put in to try to change your MOS. If you did a 2-year contract, well, it'd be tough with a 2-year contract. I mean, I guess you could with a 2-year contract after about 1.5 years or something like that, maybe. But usually around the time you're available to re-enlist, you can possibly re-enlist for another MOS, possibly. If you're qualified for it, if it's a MOS you're allowed to move to, or is taking people, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different things that kind of play into it. But typically around the time when you're eligible to re-enlist, then you could. I could be stationed at Fort Carson with my MOS. What is it like there? Fort Carson's good. I like it. If you haven't seen my video on top 5 duty stations, Fort Carson was number 2 on my list, partly because I like Fort Carson, but also because a lot of other people also liked Fort Carson. So that wasn't that when I made that video, it wasn't solely based on my opinion. It was also based on a lot of other people's opinions as well. And those were the top ones that kind of happened to kind of fall in those areas. So Fort Carson was number 2 because the area is really great. Anywhere you go, you could possibly have a chance of having really crappy leadership. That doesn't matter where you go. You can go to the greatest place on earth and possibly end up with a horrible NCO or horrible leadership. But you got to judge it based on the area. So I ranked Fort Carson as number 2 because the area is pretty cool. What is 88 Mike? It's a transportation. It's a truck driver, basically, essentially. It's a motor transportation operator. Let's see. In search for free tutors for the ASVAB, I prefer face timing and hands-on teaching for higher chances of understanding. I've just turned 19 last week. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Well, there you go. If anybody wants to tutor that individual, was it Kenan Yazzie? There you go. Hit him up. I don't know if there's anywhere. There's probably services. Probably you don't necessarily need a specific like ASVAB tutor. You need to find what area maybe on ASVAB you're weak in. If you're weak in the math, the English, whatever it is, and find just a math tutor or an English tutor to help you improve in that subject. So you don't really need to necessarily find specifically an ASVAB tutor. Hey Chris, can I bring my guitar to OSIT? No, you can't bring really anything personal to OSIT or basic training. You can bring a cell phone, they're gonna lock it up, and then you might get to use it here and there, depending on the drill sergeants, but something like a guitar, any other form of entertainment or anything like that, no. You're gonna have to wait until you're done with training, and then you can have like your guitar in the barracks and all that kind of fun stuff once you're done with all your training, but not while you're doing training. You're not gonna be able to do that. Can you join the Army with a GED? Thanks. You can, but they are going to expect you to score higher on the ASVAB, so just be aware of that. The only time that they will, if you have a GED, and they'll give you the same equal scores as like someone with a high school diploma, is if you have a GED and some college education. If you have a certain amount of college credits, then you can also join the Army, but they'll count your score a little bit better like they do with a high school diploma. So just be aware, with only a GED and no college credits, you're gonna have to score a little higher on the ASVAB than someone who just has a high school diploma. Hey Chris, how long can you get your background check results from a recruiter? That depends. Everybody's different. It just depends on how much, how much of a difficult time they're having getting every information they need, or how easy of a time it is. There's no set time. That can really just depend. What troop is to become a sniper? What troop? So that's just an additional identifier. You usually do that through the infantry, and if you have that additional identifier, then you're just assigned to be a sniper in your platoon, essentially. Chaos, have you been rafting down the Royal Gorge? And by the way, Hoping you feel better because I remember you were in the hospital. Yeah, no, I'm fine. Everything's good now. As far as the rafting thing, I have not. There is another coworker that is trying to talk me into going rafting later in August. I don't think it's is that the Royal Gorge? It might be because it's in Canyon City, which is in that same area. There's some kind of rafting thing that he wanted to do, and he was trying to get a bunch of people from work to kind of join him and do all that stuff. I don't know if I really want to do it, even though he's trying to make it sound all great and everything, that, the rapids aren't super crazy and all that stuff, and it's pretty chill. He mostly I think wants me to go because I have, all the camera equipment. I can bring a GoPro and everything like that and record everything. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be down for it. Can you sign a SF contract at 18? I'm 17 now and really interested in SF. How would the process go for me? No. They have a minimum age of 22, I believe it is. I have a video on joining the Special Forces, and I talk about that in there. I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was 22. But they have an age requirement of 22 to be able to go into the Special Forces. Otherwise, you are not able to go in at 18 to the Special Forces. You have to go into the Army first and then later put in for Special Forces and go to that route. But if you want to come directly from civilian life to Army life and try to go Special Forces, then you have to wait a couple of years for you to be old enough. I'm going to get off of here. I'm really tired, so I'm going to go. Awesome. SCP, thanks for coming to hang out. How do you get an EIB badge? That one is done if you're in infantry. If you're 11 Bravo, then they have EIB courses. I don't know how often they do them, but they have this crazy EIB course you have to go through where you have to do a PT test, you have to do a road march. For time, by the way, I think it's pretty quick. You have a pretty quick pace. You have to do 12 miles in a certain amount of time. And then you have all these little lanes you have to go through of weapons and all sorts of stuff to be able to test at and everything. And then if you've gone through all of the crazy testing that lasts, I think it's a week, then, if you've passed it all, then you qualify for the EIB badge. But it's a pretty difficult thing. I know quite a few people that, have gone and done that, and they said it wasn't easy to earn. So it's quite the challenge, apparently. How long have you been out of the Army? Quite a while. 8 years, 7 years, something like that. But the great thing is that I still work with the Army. So it's not like 7 years of just being totally out of touch with the Army. I train soldiers right now, so I still work with a lot of military stuff. So helps with my knowledge of the Army, because I'm still, even though I got out 7 years, those last 7 years, I've been working with the Army still, as a civilian though. So I kind of am able to still keep up to date on everything. Do you need college credits, or can I join with just the GED? Yeah, you don't need college credits. If you don't want to have to get the higher score on the ASVAB, then you can just go without it. The college credits just helps it to where you don't need as high of a score. But with just a GED, you can still join the Army, but your ASVAB score has to be higher. So just kind of be aware of that. We're at 30 likes currently. If you are enjoying the live stream, make sure to hit that like button. We're trying to see if we can't get all the way up to 50. Nothing special happens if we get to 50, but it's just a nice goal to shoot for. So we got about 20 more minutes of the live stream. Usually these things go for about an hour. How rare is a 99 on the ASVAB? My recruiter was surprised because I barely tried. I thought it was quite common as it's scaled pretty down. If you're talking about the AFQT score as a whole, I mean, that's pretty good. I don't know how common it is. But if you're talking about the GT score, well, that's kind of low if it was 99, because the GT score should be 100 or above. I mean slightly low, not 1 point low. But if you're talking about overall, which is the AFQT score of 99, then that's pretty good. I don't know what the max is. I forget what the max is for the GT, for the overall score of the ASVAB, the AFQT. How much fixing of vehicles do you do as an ADM mic? Very, 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 very little. You might do little things here and there that's considered operator level. Otherwise, you're primarily just driving the vehicle, operating the vehicle, loading the vehicle, unloading the vehicle, things like that. The fixing part is done by the mechanics. The only things you might fix is if it's something really simple that you might have to help a mechanic work on or do it, or a few other little things that are considered operator level. Chris, did you ever hear of anyone that was dumb enough to try and conceal / keep his cell phone during basic? So when I went through basic, cell phones were just starting to kind of be a more popular thing. There was a guy who did keep his cell phone. He kept it in his wall locker. He had it turned off. He had it pretty well hidden away. He didn't get caught. And there was sometimes at night where he would hide in his wall locker and call home and talk to his wife. He got away with it. He never got caught. So I guess it's possible. I wouldn't recommend it because, possibly if you did get caught, you could probably lose all phone privileges for all of basic, and that would suck. So it's possible, sure, but I definitely would not recommend it. At what age can you enlist without telling your parents? What do you bring with you to recruiter? 18 is the minimum age without needing a parent's consent. As far as bringing stuff with your recruiter, just for your initial contact, you really don't need anything. You can just kind of talk to them and see, what options you might have. But probably eventually you're probably going to need probably maybe a social security card, probably proof of graduating from high school or a GED, maybe a few other things. But if you're just trying to make your first initial contact, you can just hit them up, talk to them, and then from there find out where you need to go and what you're going to need to bring. But those are probably the basic ones. It's probably some kind of proof of birth, like a birth certificate, so they can prove your age, and then probably proof of education. Do you get a motorcycle in the military? Because I heard different than cars. No, they used to way back in the day have motorcycles, way before my time even. But I don't think there's anywhere in the Army that currently has Army motorcycles. Christopher, I'm from PR, and every time I have a question, I come straight to your channel. So thank you. Well, awesome. Thank you. Was it Ricardo? Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for being awesome and making me your primary source for information. Did you catch today's Baseball Hall of Fame induction? I did not. I don't watch baseball. The only sport I actually really watch is MMA. So I watch UFC fights. Occasionally I'll watch like Bellator or certain other organizations. I'll occasionally watch football. I root for the Raiders, but I really don't follow the team very well or follow football in general. But I'll root for the Raiders, I guess, and occasionally watch a game. But yeah, for the most part, MMA is my primary sport that I watch. I don't really watch much more beyond that. How long do you have to complete a 5-mile road march? They're not all timed. The only one that's really timed is sometimes for your unit, for like a 12-miler, for EIB. Otherwise, I'd say a good road marching pace is something like 7 minutes-ish around there per mile. 7 or 8 minutes is probably a good pace for a road march when you're walking it and you have probably about 45 pounds or so on your back and everything. So having a 7 to 8 minute pace is pretty good per mile. Cell phones in basic training show a severe lack of discipline. So you're allowed to, because people want to stay in contact, right? So you're not allowed to walk around with cell phones. I'm not saying that. They get locked up, and if the drill sergeants want to give them out to let people make a phone call and then lock them back up again, they can do that. They don't have to. If they wanted to, the drill sergeants could just keep them locked up for the entire basic training. There's no nothing saying that they have to let them have the opportunity, but they usually, once in a while, it depends on the leadership, will let them come out for about an hour or two or whatever, let them call home, say hi and everything, and then they get locked back up. But they don't get to keep their cell phones on them. They get locked up and secured. Is traveling in the Army as common as the Navy? Probably not. You probably only sometimes do some traveling if it's for training, for a class, for a school. Otherwise, no, you don't do a whole lot of traveling in the Army other than to go on a deployment or move to another duty station. How do you get a personal motorcycle in the military? Well, you can get a personal one just by buying one. Usually most units and installations will require you to take the motorcycle safety course on base, like a little 1-week course of just doing like some little obstacles and making sure that you know how to ride a motorcycle safely, and then whether or not you have a license or not. If you don't have a license for a motorcycle and you do that motorcycle safety course, then that allows you to bypass the whole driving portion of getting the license. You just have to do the test, the written portion of the test, and then if you pass that, then you get a permit, and then I think you do another test just to get the license or something like that. But most installations will require you to do the motorcycle safety course, even if you have a license already. How many days of vacation do you have? Do I have? I don't know. A couple weeks, a week or two, 2 weeks, I don't know. That's weird. Unless you're talking about the Army. Well, in the Army, if you don't take, you basically earn how many days it is per month or per pay period. But essentially, it's 30 days a year. What fighting types like MMA, UFC, karate do they teach you? Really just jiu-jitsu, kind of. If you do combatives, you'll do some really, really basic stuff in basic training, but it's only like maybe like a day or two worth of stuff, or maybe not even that long, maybe only a few hours worth of stuff. But then once you get your unit, if you're interested in going to combatives, then you can do combatives. That's a week-long course for combatives 1. I don't know how long combatives 2, 3, and 4. I forget. I have a video on that, but off the top of my head, I forget how long they are. But that's basically Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and you can learn that from there. Super chat from Don. Thanks, Don, for the super chat. What would you say your craziest off-duty, on-base story is? So off-duty, so I'm not just kind of hanging out, but I'm on base. Probably just different stuff in the barracks. You see all the time, you know, people partying, getting crazy. I remember I had one soldier that was going to jump out of the first floor of the thing, thinking he was like super drunk and depressed or whatever, and he was going to kill himself. And eventually they talked him out of it, because especially telling him that you're only one story up, man, that you're not going to die. You're just going to get hurt, and it's going to suck. And then you're going to get in trouble. And then you just have other people doing crazy stuff, running through the barracks. I remember there was a dude one time who was drunk and streaked through the hallways. You see some crazy stuff in the barracks. Barracks is usually when you see all the crazy stuff, especially being off when you're just in the barracks on the weekends or in the evenings or whatever. You'll see some crazy stuff sometimes. Yeah, that's probably nothing super crazy, I guess, that I can think of offhand. Probably if I had more time to think about it, maybe there'd be something more crazy I could think of, but it must not have been that crazy if I can't think of it off the top of my head anyways. But thank you for the donation, John. Appreciate it. Did I say Don earlier? I don't remember if I said Don. If I said Don earlier, I'm sorry. It's John. Thanks for the donation. Have you started on the 31 kilo MOS? That might be not tomorrow's MOS Monday, but maybe the next one. I don't know. We'll see. There won't be an MOS Monday tomorrow. I've just been super busy. And plus, the past couple of MOS Monday videos, to tell you the truth, haven't been doing so great. I've pretty much covered all of the really top requested MOS Monday episodes. There's now just these onesies and twosies here and there, to where those first initial ones, like 11 Bravo, your MPs, your combat engineers, your medics, and all that stuff, those videos did great because a lot of people are interested in them. You're starting to get to these ones now where only a small handful are interested in certain MOSs. So you may be really passionate about it, but you might be only a handful of people. And like last week's MOS, which is still kind of an obscure kind of MOS for the public affairs thing, that video didn't do that super great compared to a lot of other ones. So 31 kilo possibly will be the next one, and we'll see how it does. But I'm slowing it down a little bit, mostly because I'm starting to get into the area of MOSs that are not as important, or not as important, that's horrible to say, not as popular as other ones that people are really interested in. So they're not doing so super great. Back when there was the draft, was the ASVAB required? How were MOSs determined? I don't know. I don't know on historical stuff. I'm not 100% sure if they had the ASVAB back then. I think they would just, I don't know if they just took anybody and they just threw them into jobs they needed. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that. How much is the special pay for speaking more than one language? I speak English, Spanish, German, and Korean, so is it going to be like extra pay? So they no longer pay extra for Spanish. Spanish is no longer qualifies. German and Korean would still qualify, but you have to take a test, and if you can speak it and write it at a certain level, then they determine that it's good enough for language pay. But I think language pay is, I think it's $100 extra a month. I don't know if you get an additional $100 if you have more than one language, or if it's just flat out doesn't matter, it's $100 extra a month. I don't remember for sure. I think I have a video somewhere in there that talks about what it is for language pay, but Spanish won't qualify anymore, but German and Korean possibly would, as long as you're at a high enough proficiency of being able to speak it, understand it, and write it. Do you know anything about the combatives tournament at Fort Benning every fall? No, not really. They do this fun little competition and everything like that. I don't know what happens, like if you win it or anything like that, or how you go about getting into it. But no, I don't really know too much about it. We get a top bunk or bottom bunk with your battle buddy at basic training. That just depends. Some basic trainings don't even have bunk beds anymore. It just depends. Like, even back when I went through basic training at Fort Benning, it was all just a bunch of beds, just like small little twin-sized beds, and they were the style of beds that looked like they normally would have bunk beds, but they were just the bottom bunk, basically, all throughout the whole entire bay. Just a big, large bay of wall lockers and beds all over the place. And then other basic trains will have bunk beds. A lot of times they go alphabetically. So if your last name starts with an A, then you might have that first bed, and then the next person in the alphabet might have the bunk above you, and so on and so forth on down the line. So a lot of times that's how they kind of do it, is alphabetically based on your last name, and that kind of ends up working that way. Chris, have you done an MOS Monday on 31 Bravo? That's the MP, right? If so, yes. I'm gonna stop eating chicken when I go get stripped off to basic training. It's hurting me to quit eating. It's so good. Yeah, well, it's probably a good idea to try to eat healthy and try to eat good before going to basic training. Can you do a video on 15 Hotel at some point? Thanks. Maybe, like I was talking about earlier, you're starting to get to this obscure area of MOSs that aren't as popular. They're a little more obscure, and not as many people are interested in them, so the videos don't usually perform as very well because people don't care about those MOSs. They're not interested in them, where a lot of people were interested in some of those first several ones that I did because those are the really popular ones. But we'll see. We'll see how long I keep on doing MOS Monday and how far I'll go, if I'll cover every MOS. But at some point in time, you're going to start getting really obscure MOSs that people didn't even know existed and probably don't even want to watch the video on because they don't know what the hell it is or even have an interest in wanting to know about it. How much money do you make per month YouTubing about military knowledge? I don't know. I'm not going to give a specific number. It also varies based on views. So it depends. Not enough, I'll put it this way, not enough for me to quit my day job. So how about that? There are people that can do that. I am not at that level to where I can quit my day job and just do YouTube all the time. But definitely good enough to keep doing YouTube. Hey Chris, what's up? Sorry I'm late. Well, welcome Jay the Vorn. How's it hanging? Do you have to sign for secrecy document when you ETS that started? You would not disclose any information about the military? No, there's nothing along those lines. If you worked in an environment that had secret information and you have a secret clearance, then that's just a given. You're not supposed to talk about that kind of stuff. But there's not anything that that you're not supposed to talk about outside the Army or anything like that, unless it was classified as secret or whatever. Even like all the information I give on my channel and everything like that, all that stuff you can easily Google, right? I'm just simply making it to where it's in a nice, neat little package, hopefully, and easy for everybody to understand, coming from someone who knows what the heck it's talking about and explaining it to you. Otherwise, all the information I give, it's not like these are special secret information that I'm giving or any kind of special secrets. These are stuff you can Google. You can find out easily about the MOS of a 15 Hotel, a 31 Bravo, or whatever, right? By simply Googling it. I'm just putting in a nice, neat package for everybody to be able to just relax, watch a video, learn about it without having to search the internet and trying to look this stuff up. So I'm just making it easy for you. But otherwise, yeah, there's no special paperwork you have to sign that you're not going to disclose anything about the military. Just if you happen to work around secret information, then that's pretty much a given because you got a secret clearance for that stuff, and that stuff just doesn't go on beyond. So I don't really have much that I did in that realm anyways, but I know better than to talk about stuff that I knew was secret. I don't know about like aliens at Area 51 or anything, so I can't help you there. Let's see. Hey Chris, what do you think of online communities role-playing the U.S. Army? Mostly teenagers. Do you think it's a fun idea? I have never heard of that. So I guess I can't have a good opinion on that because I've never actually heard of that. Interesting. Chris, do you play any video games? Occasionally. I like No Man's Sky. I play that on both PlayStation and on the PC. Once in a blue moon, Minecraft, but I'm not really too interested in the whole crafting of things. I like the whole building of stuff. Sometimes I'll get bored and I'll just sit there and build this humongous castle or whatever, but I don't really like the story mode of it and trying to like go find materials and craft it together. That gets boring for me, but I like the building part of it. The Spider-Man game, I've played that one for a while. And then Days Gone, Recently, I've been playing was it Mario Maker 2. I like to build the levels, and my girlfriend likes to play them. She doesn't like to build them, so I build the levels for her, and she plays the levels. Thinking about joining the Army because I don't know what I want to do as far as college. That's understandable. Make sure you find a job that you think you'll enjoy, and you can always use the education or the experience from being in the Army to help you in later career, as well as the education benefits to go to college, and maybe you'll figure out while you're in the Army what it is you want to do for college. So that's not necessarily a bad idea. It's probably a pretty good idea for a lot of individuals. So got hooked up with some government MREs. Good stuff. Hard to get the right combo for Ranger pudding. Yeah, that stuff's gross anyways. I still have some MREs here back behind me that I need to put together for a video at some point in time. I've done a video on basically what's inside of an MRE, but there was another idea that I had for doing an MRE video that I still need to get around to trying to do at some point in time. Plus I also have the cold weather ones that I got from my buddy who is in Alaska, and I need to do a video on the cold weather ones and how you're actually supposed to prepare a cold weather MRE. It's not just a regular same way as a regular MRE. There's actually some different steps you're supposed to do with that specific one. No Man's Sky is pretty good. I like No Man's Sky. It's a fun game. I do wish there was more like discovery type of stuff. Kind of after a while, you get to a lot of different planets in the game, and they're all starting to look the same with just different colors and more or less trees and all that kind of stuff. But I'm waiting for this new update they're supposed to have, and hopefully that makes some great improvements. But it's still a great game even regardless. But it does kind of get boring at times sometimes. Chris, I've heard of top secret clearance, and classified clearance. But what is a Q clearance? A recruiter told me he had one. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty much just familiar with secret, top secret. The classified kind of clearance is kind of the basic level of what everybody has in the military. And then it goes up from there, secret or top secret. And there's a top secret with an additional identifier. I don't know if that's what he's talking about. I forget what that's called though. But there's an additional identifier with a top secret clearance that kind of makes it a little bit slightly above a top secret clearance. It's kind of a weird situation thing. Chris, have you played any Arma games? Top realistic simulation series. Arma 3 is my favorite. Not really. I've done the DayZ mods for a while back, but then along with the Arma thing, I used to, at the job that I do now, I used to for a while, for several years, work with VBS 3, which is modeled off of Arma 3, and it's used to be the same company at one point in time. They've split. One now just solely does video games, and the other one does military simulations, but it's basically Arma 3 essentially, but they use it for soldiers to train on, and you have the complete control of putting buildings where you want to, putting people where you want to, jumping in anyone you want to, and then using that for soldiers to train. So then the soldiers have their own little soldier that they're controlling with a keyboard or whatever, and then you have complete control to do everything, to place people where you want to place them and place IEDs and all sorts of things in the situations where they want them. And then they also use it with convoys, so they can do convoy training. They're using it now with strikers, so they can do striker training, and then it just makes it more realistic. So I have a lot more experience with VBS 3 than I do with Arma. But Arma's pretty good. A lot of those people that play those games are really serious about that, and I don't think I take video games that seriously, so I just never really jumped into it. Chris, if someone were to become a drill sergeant, could they still deploy? Not as a drill sergeant, because your role is to be at that school environment and to be that person training those new soldiers. So they're not going to take you away from that to go be in a combat zone. So now, once you're a drill sergeant and you're done with your drill sergeant time, then you go back to a regular unit, and then you could still possibly deploy. But while you're on drill sergeant status, no, you're not going to deploy while you're currently on drill sergeant status. How many shots will you get basic training? That can really depend. There's at least a couple at a minimum probably, but beyond that it kind of depends. You might like Star Citizen, but fair warning, it requires a pretty beefy PC. So I have a really beefy PC because I do a lot of this video stuff, so I have a lot of stuff into it. And I do VR occasionally too, so not very often, but I have VR. I have Oculus VR, and then I also have PlayStation VR. But there's one that has the PC for VR. It's not Star Citizen, I don't think. Elite Dangerous. So there's a game called Elite Dangerous that I used to play on VR, and I haven't played that in a long time. But that one was required a little pretty good RAM on your computer and everything to run that. But that was pretty fun. That was really cool in VR too. I haven't played that in a long time though. Do people die every day in the Army? I don't know about every day. I mean, especially with there not being a combat. Well, I mean, there's people in the combat zone, but it's not really as crazy as it used to be. So, I don't know. I don't really know if it's every day. It's possible. I don't really know what the statistics are of that. How is BAH allocated for soldiers with family living in a foreign country? If your family is going to live in a foreign country and you're going to be stationed in the United States, then you can get BAH for where they're located at. It just depends on the area. And it depends on what the average cost of living is for that area. But if they're going to stay there and you're going to stay in the United States, then you don't get like extra for you to pay for your rent in the United States and them to pay for their rent in the other country or whatever. You get the one set rate for whichever one you want to choose, either where you're at or where they're at, and you have to make do with that money to get you a place and to pay for their place. You can't live in the barracks if you're married. So just be aware of that. If your family's going to stay behind somewhere, you can do to the option of BAH for their location or your location, but you're not going to get both. You're only getting one or the other, and you got to make that amount of money work for paying rent at both locations. So be aware of that as well. I'll be heading to Washington, D.C. on Thursday and be there for 5 days, so I might miss some live streams. Well, have fun in Washington, D.C. Don't worry about it. The live streams will be here for when you come back to be able to have access to be able to do so. Was there a spice epidemic in your unit? I don't think so. I don't know. Spice epidemic? Like what? We're short on spices? And we don't have any salt and pepper? I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, Chris, going to go now, I'm assuming. You take it easy, you and your family. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for hanging out. What is harder to get in your contract, option 4 or 40? You're talking about, I don't know what 4 is. If you're talking about, I mean, really, I don't know if any options are harder. It's just different times could be harder than others because the classes might happen to be really full or whatever. So that really kind of just varies. I wasn't even paying attention at the time. We've just been flowing along. We were just slightly over an hour. I only do these things normally for an hour. So I'll do a couple more of your questions here. I'm going to go backwards, then come back forwards in the questions, and then we're going to be ending this live stream. So maybe in the next 5 minutes left of this live stream. I didn't even realize what time it was. There's still some stuff I got to complete tonight before going back to work tomorrow and all that kind of funness. So let's see. Chris, I know you said that the movie review video didn't do so well within the army now with Pauly Shore, but you keep it open to doing others like maybe Black Hawk Down or Hurt Locker, still possible. If anything, I think Hurt Locker would possibly be one. I've never even seen Hurt Locker, so I don't know. Black Hawk Down probably wouldn't do because that's pretty accurate. So that I mainly, when I do those videos, want to just kind of point out what's realistic and what is just for the purpose of entertainment of the movie, because movies aren't necessarily trying to be 100% accurate. They're just trying to focus on entertaining people. They don't care if they're being accurate with it or not. And it's not to necessarily say that the movie's bad, because I love the movie in the Army Now. It's hilarious. One of my favorite probably military movies, actually, even though it's not very accurate, of course, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be entertaining. Black Hawk Down is pretty accurate because it's based on real events that happened. Hurt Locker, I've never seen, so I don't really know how accurate it is, but I don't see me, if I do one of those videos again, I don't see doing Black Hawk Down because of how accurate it is. There might be like really small little subtle things here and there because the continuity people didn't care to, do something, but Hurt Locker I've never seen, so I'd have to watch it and see if it'd be something worth doing. All right, let's go backwards. I'm going to go backwards to some older questions and see what we have, see if there's something I missed. And then we'll come back and do a newer one, and we'll be ending this here pretty soon. Let's see if I can find something that seems pretty good that I missed. I already did that one. Let's see, we'll do this one, I guess. Is not knowing how to swim prior to joining the Army going to affect me in a huge way? Thanks. So that's from Dominique, and no, it is not. You won't do any type of swimming in basic training. Later, when you get to your regular units, they might additionally do some like drown proofing classes where you do some stuff to learn how to turn your pants into a flotation device. That's not a lot of units sometimes don't even do that at all. So that just really varies from unit to unit. And that's just an extra thing that some units like to do. But even then, when I have done that in certain units where we've done drown proofing classes to just do some training, we still had some people that couldn't swim. So they would just have them sit on the sidelines and watch, and they didn't even make them do it. So no, not knowing how to swim for the Army purpose is not a big deal. If you're probably joining the Marines or the Navy, it might play a bigger role. But for the Army, nobody cares if you can't swim. You'll be all right. And then we'll do, let's see, what do we got? Let's see, him going for 11 X-ray OSIT in 22 days. Any last minute tips? Well, you have 22 days. I would say just keep doing a crap ton of cardio. Do a lot of running, road marching, everything if you can. Keep your lungs strong. So that way when you go and you're doing all that crazy, road marching and running and everything else that's cardio based in OSIT, then hopefully you'll be prepared for that. So I would say just kind of stick with that. Hopefully it all works out well. So there we go. That's going to do it for the live stream. If I didn't get your question, don't take it personal. It gets crazy in the live stream and I can't keep up with it sometimes. If you want, you can come back to the video after a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes or whatever. It's been processed. Drop a comment down in the comment section if you want to know the answer to something. Or I always say the best way to do so, follow me on Instagram. Look for Christopher Chaos on Instagram. That Chris Chaos is the handle. But you can find me on there. You can shoot me a message on there. So far, I'm not super overwhelmed with messages in my inbox that I can't keep up. I may not respond right away, but usually within about 24, 48 hours or less, I usually respond to your questions. So you can always hit me up on Instagram, and I do my best to be able to answer everybody's question. And so far, I have a 100% success rate as long as it's not spam that you're hitting me up with or some nonsense or something like that. You have a legitimate question, I'm most likely going to respond to you. So hit me up on Instagram. You can always do so. I'll be back. We'll see if I do maybe one of the week ones during the week. If there's anybody in here from the elite of the memberships, I'll probably be planning to do maybe a elite live stream, maybe on Friday. We'll see how that kind of goes. I'll be posting that in the community section for the memberships. If you want to join in on any of those awesome perks, just hit the little join thing down below. If you're using this on a mobile device, you can hit the link down in the description to join and look for the perks. There's from the basic all the way up to elite that has different perks in there. But as a minimum, you get these cool little icons next to your name and emojis and the intel to find out about what videos are coming up before everybody else finds out about them. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. You guys rock. You guys are awesome and everything. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out. See ya.